Good morning, Year 8. So today we are moving on to looking at our negative numbers. And when we're looking at our negative numbers, we have had various discussions about where we come across negatives in real life. And so we looked at temperatures, where we sometimes refer to the temperature as dropping to -3 degrees, and then we would consider that to be quite chilly here. But we talked about the language we use. We prefer to use this word negative so that we don't get confused between the word minus, because minus can be used to subtract. So what we will use is we will use positive to deal with the actual number. And so we'll decide whether it's a positive number, so it's a positive temperature or a negative temperature, or it could be how many meters above sea level or below sea level. And we use positive and negative to refer to the numbers. So I might have -3 or I might have +5. Remember, we don't need to have those. And then when we want to talk about an operation, we will use for subtract, I tend to use the word difference, to really make sure that we understand that we are finding a difference between two things. And then when I want to do an addition, we can use the word add, or we can have the sum, and these words don't seem to have so much a problem, whereas the minus word can be really confused as to, am I talking about a number or am I talking about the operation subtracting? This becomes really important because if I wanted to find the difference between the temperatures of -15 and -10, I am asking you to do a subtraction between these two numbers. So the mathematical way of writing out this calculation would be, I've got -10 is my warmer one that you'll be looking at that today, and I'd be subtracting -15, and then finding the difference between those ones would actually end up being the same as me doing finding the difference between those things. So this is finding the difference between -10 and -15. Now if I use a number line to picture that, actually my -15 would be there, my -10 would be there, and then my 0 would be there. So actually we can see that the difference between those two is going to be 5. And one of those things we'll be looking at is seeing how can we rewrite this equation to be an equivalent calculation. So that's a lot of what we'll be doing with negatives, is thinking about that language that we use so that we can understand what we mean by a calculation that gets written like this. So today's Hegarty clips are going to be 37, 38 and 39. So 37 is going to be comparing negative numbers, so using that language of greater than or less than, and making sure you understand where they appear on a number line. The symmetry of subtraction helps you understand how you can use an equivalent calculation dependent on what you're being asked to do. So looking at those calculations, thinking about where they appear on a number line so that you can work out there. So you can see this example that I started showing you here is 17 subtract 3 and 3 subtract 17, or is that a different calculation? So thinking about that to make you start thinking about the language that we use. And then the third task, which is this last one here, is where we can add some negative numbers and see what the impact of those is. So really thinking, always take it back to the number line. The number line you can see on the Hegarty video here is a vertical one. That's equally as effective as a horizontal number line, but always take it back to that. So if you're struggling with any of these questions, I would suggest you draw your own number line so that you can use that difference on there. You saw how on my one, I used that highlighter to make it really clear what I was trying to do, and thinking about how you can make these questions into a worded question. Okay, good luck, Year 8.